Imagine opening a dusty crate that hasn't seen daylight in 50 years and finding something that changes everything you thought you knew about history. Sometimes, the strangest discoveries happen when we least expect them, hidden away in forgotten corners of warehouses, attics, and storage units across the world. These sealed containers hold secrets that have been waiting decades to be revealed, and some of them are truly bizarre. In northern Germany, a 10-year-old boy named Alexander Kettler was playing in his grandmother's attic when he stumbled upon a crate he'd never seen before. When his family helped him pry it open, they found something completely unexpected inside, a full-size sarcophagus containing what appeared to be an ancient mummy. The discovery sent shockwaves through the household, and everyone wanted to know how it got there. After bringing in medical experts to examine the remains, they discovered something even stranger. While it wasn't a thousands of years old Egyptian artifact, it did contain actual human bones. The mystery deepened when they learned about a peculiar trend from the Victorian era called Egyptomania, when wealthy Europeans hosted macabre parties where they would publicly unwrap mummies for entertainment. The family believes the sarcophagus likely belonged to the boy's grandfather, who spent time in northern Africa during the 1950s, but the full story may never be known. In western France, a collection that had been abandoned for decades told a different kind of story. Roger Bayon was a car enthusiast and entrepreneur who started collecting vintage automobiles in the 1950s, with dreams of opening an open-air museum. When his business finances collapsed in the 70s, his dream died with them. The cars sat untouched on his family farm, slowly being consumed by vines and rust. Decades later, when his grandchildren inherited the property, they discovered 60 classic vehicles hidden across the grounds. Among the decaying treasures was a 1961 Ferrari California Spider, one of only about a dozen ever made. This particular model had once belonged to French actor Alain Delon, adding even more value to its already extraordinary provenance. The rusty beauty eventually sold for $18.5 million at a Paris auction. Storage units have become unexpected treasure troves in recent years, revealing objects that range from valuable to downright bizarre. In 2018, a man paid $500 for an abandoned storage unit and found a locked safe inside. Most bidders would have assumed it was empty, but this one defied the odds. When a locksmith finally cracked it open, they found $7.5 million in cash stacked inside. The original owners eventually came forward trying to buy back the contents, but the finder negotiated a deal that allowed him to keep a substantial portion of the discovery. In another storage unit, purchased for less than $100, someone found one of the submarine cars used in the 1977 James Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me, proving that sometimes reality is stranger than the movies. Musical history has also been preserved in forgotten storage spaces. Over 250 unreleased Michael Jackson songs were discovered in a storage unit that once belonged to his father. The collection included tour-worn jackets, handwritten lyrics, and various awards spanning decades of the pop icon's career. All of it had been sitting there for years, forgotten, until overdue bills brought the treasures to light. The items were eventually sold to a private collector, offering an unprecedented glimpse into the personal and professional life of one of music's most legendary performers. In California, another storage unit contained more than 200 original works by artist Frank Gutierrez, purchased for just $3,000, but later valued between $300,000 and $500,000. Attics seem to hold a special place in the world of strange discoveries. When a man in Defiance, Ohio was cleaning out his aunt's attic, he found a box of old comics that his uncle had collected. Hidden among them was a copy of Action Comics #1 from 1938, the first appearance of Superman. The comic had been used as insulation and was torn in a family dispute over its sale, but it still fetched $100,000 at auction. For a house purchased for only $10,000, finding that comic was like winning a personal lottery. Another attic discovery proved even more valuable when a Norwegian industrialist's painting sat forgotten for decades after being declared a fake. New technology eventually authenticated it as a genuine Vincent van Gogh from 1888, the first full-size Van Gogh painting discovered since 1928. Its estimated value reached £100 million. Sometimes the most valuable items are the smallest. A scrap metal dealer bought a gold egg at a flea market for £13,000, planning to melt it down for the gold content. When he couldn't melt it easily, he searched the inscription on the clock inside and discovered he owned the third imperial Easter egg, one of 50 created by jeweler Carl Fabergé for the Russian imperial family. Made in 1887 for Tsar Alexander III, this egg had been considered lost for decades after the Russian Revolution. Its historical significance as a symbol of the Romanov dynasty made it priceless. Not all discoveries are about money. A man in England found a violin in his attic that once belonged to Wallace Hartley, the band leader on the Titanic, who famously played as the ship sank in 1912. Recovery workers had found the instrument in its case, strapped to Hartley's body after the disaster, and sent it to his fiancée in England. After her death, it passed through several hands before being forgotten in an attic. The violin sold for around $1.7 million in 2013 and now sits in Titanic Museum attractions, a powerful reminder of courage in the face of tragedy. Some sealed crates contain pieces of history that change how we understand the past. When archaeologists sorted through artifacts recovered from a Greek shipwreck discovered in 1900, they found a mysterious object with multiple layers of brass gears fitted precisely together in a wooden box. For decades, no one knew what it was. 50 years later, a science historian realized it could predict the positions of planets and stars by date. The device, now known as the Antikythera mechanism and dating to around 100 BCE, is considered the world's first analog computer. Greek text on the artifact showed it could predict eclipses, moon phases, and even track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games, revealing technological sophistication that historians never imagined existed in ancient times. The strangest finds sometimes appear in the most ordinary places. During World War II, a film projection booth on Long Island was boarded up and forgotten. Decades later, in the early 1970s, an employee discovered a 6-foot-tall poster for the 1931 movie Frankenstein hidden inside. The poster, which helped launch Boris Karloff to stardom and spawned the Universal Classic Monsters series, sold for $358,000 in 2015. Meanwhile, a man at a Pennsylvania flea market bought a framed painting for $4 and found a rare first printing of the Declaration of Independence folded up behind it. The document was one of about 200 copies printer John Dunlap made after the Declaration's ratification on July 4, 1776. The ink was still wet when it was printed, leaving the first line of text appearing in reverse at the bottom. It sold for $8.14 million in 2000. These discoveries remind us that history isn't always found in museums or archaeological digs. Sometimes it's sitting in a dusty attic, a forgotten storage unit, or a crate that nobody has opened in generations. Each sealed container holds the potential for mystery, whether it's a mummy from a Victorian party, a multi-million-dollar car collection, or technology that shouldn't exist according to our understanding of ancient civilizations. The next time you see an old trunk or sealed box in a forgotten corner, remember that opening it might just rewrite what we know about the past.